Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on the Ketubot daf Nun Ches. We are going to begin on Nun Ches Amud Aleph, the fourth line from the top. Rabbi Tarfon Omer Noisen L'Hakol Truma B'Chul. So this goes back to the Mishnah on the previous daf on Nun Zayin that tells us that when it comes to a Basula, Hegizman Voniso, let's say after a year goes by and they're not married yet, so the Tanakhama say that he has to provide for her food, and also if he's a Kohen, he can give her truma. Now, if Tarfon says you can give all of the food as truma, it's not a problem, and therefore, even during the time in which she could not eat it, if she's Tameya, so she could always sell it, even though it will be for a lower price for chulin foods, then that will be fine. Rabbi Kiva Omer says the Mishnah Mechsa chulin Mechsa truma. Because of this concern, you have to actually split it and give her half truma when she's tahara, so she can eat when she's tahara, and then the other chulin when she's tameh. So in this, the Gemara says as follows: Omer Abaya machlokes, whether you give her all truma or everything is only bevas koyin l'koyin, is only a situation where she already is eating truma for her father's house, and she's now about to marry a Kohen who also has truma. In that situation, it's possible that you can give her all truma. However, if we're dealing with a situation where she is a Bas Yisrael, which means that in her current house with her father doesn't know anything about selling truma, and because of that, we say that the din is Bas Yisrael Kohen Divrei Mechsa Chulin Mechsa Truma. We say that we have to give her chulin, so this when she's tamei, she doesn't have to sell it. So what's the problem? Why can't she sell it? I know her father doesn't know how to do it because he's never done it before. So Rashi says, "Lafi shekoil kvoide bas melech panima be'avi be'achai inu etzel she'asask b'suracheha." So in this situation, this is actually going to be for later on, but the notion is that you give it to her because we don't want her to have to go and try to sell this. Maybe the whole machlokus is only when she's engaged, this bas koyin. After all, Rashi says, "V'hoyel b'hi beis avia," since she's in her father's house, tarach avia limchar truma b'chol nimei tuma lefi shu raga b'kach. Because he's familiar with knowing how to do this, so then we allow it. However, when it comes to Nesuin, so again, already at that point, since she's, as we just saw in this Rashi, which we jumped a little bit, that Rashi said that because she's not really in her father's house anymore, because she's completely married, so you definitely have to give her some chulin, because we don't want her to have to sell this truma. She's going to be knocking on doors. So this is going to be question 7. Bas Yisrael, Arusa L'Koyin, she got engaged, O Nesua L'Koyin, or she is a Nesua to a Koyin, Umesha Oiso Alidei Shlish, Kama Truma V'Kama Chulin Noisen La B'Mizonoseha, a Lieb Rav Tarfon Rabbi Kiva. So he says, Noisen La Mechsa Truma Mechsa Chulin, Bein Arusa Bein Nesua. Okay, so we'll have to hold off on that, but we'll see. Tani Mihaki, Rabbi Tarfon Omer Noisen L'Hakol Truma. So he says that you can give her all truma. When do they argue Bas Yisrael Kohen? Bas Kohen L'Kohen. Again, because she's a Kohen, and so therefore her father could always sell it. Therefore, that's why possibly Mechsa, that's why someone could possibly say that Hakol Truma. Because it's a Bas Kohen L'Kohen. Of a Bas Yisrael Kohen, Divrei Hakol Mechsa Chul Mechsa Truma. The Medimur Morim Barusa. When do we say this din? Only during Erison. When it comes to Nesuin, Divrei HaKoil, Mechsa Chul and Mechsa Truma. When it comes to Nesuin, certainly we don't want her to be knocking on doors. Because again, the father's not in the picture. Actually, he has a different opinion that what you should actually do is give 2/3 of Truma and 1/3 of Chulin. And the significance behind this is because she's not going to be really tummy half of her life. Maybe we'll call it a third. So therefore, it makes sense that you only have to give her 1/3 chulin. So it couldn't be Yehuda, similar to what we said before. No, give her all truma, and then she can sell it. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel omer kol makom shehuskar truma. Anytime we mention truma, nice little kiflayim b'chulin. We give double then chulin. So my binayu, that's exactly what we're saying. So if we look in Rashi, kiflayim b'chulin, ksavar lo matrachinin lo l'moichor b'shavya. El nice little truma harbe. We give her a lot of truma, kadeshi titnen b'zoil, so that this way she'll be able to sell it for a low price. So timsel leichin harbe. There'll be a lot of people to purchase it. So my binayu tircha. So the difference between these opinions is tircha, between the opinions of Rebbe Yehuda and Reb Shimon. Okay. This is actually interesting because it seems pretty clear that there is a chiluk between eris and nesuin, but over here it says again a libra on top of Rabbi Kiva, kama truma v'kama chulin noisila b'mizeno seha. And he says noisila meksa truma meksa chulin bein arusa uvein nesua. Okay, which is not so clear from this Gemara. It sounds that the Gemara is making a chiluk between eris and nesuin. Okay. All right. Just want to mark this down. Is this correct? To put more thought into why they gave that answer. Okay, Viking. Hayava inu meichel b'truma. So, if let's say you have a woman whose husband died, so the din is that if she have no children, she's shemer shavam. Now, if let's say time goes by, so the man does not give her truma. Hayavam enu meichel b'truma. That's what it says. And why not? They're getting married too. So my time at kinyan kasma rachman b'hay kinyan ta'achivhu. The only time that there is a requirement of having to support her in this way is dafka when it comes to a kinyan kaspa, which is kedushin. But now over here with the kinyan is because of her relationship to your brother. Fine. And that Rashi says, V'chimeslei pakale kinyanai. The kinyan leaves from the time that her husband had died. Of a kansa, once they're married, har he ishto chol davar. We know that he has all the obligations just like any other husband. But kasav kra ishtoi, dechsev lachal isha, the kind of bia, v'cheich de kedushi bia machilan barusa. The ikdoish havois lahadadi kach machilan biyavama. So the din is that there is going to be a chiyuv once they're fully married, but not at the time of eris, and if time goes by and he doesn't marry her yet. Also shisha chadashim b'ifnei habal, etc. So let's read this piece of the Mishnah. So the Mishnah said, if let's say 6 months were by her first husband, and then 6 b'shisha chadashim b'ifnei hayavam, and then 6 months went by, her husband died, and then 6 more months until the yavam hasn't married her yet. If you kulam b'ifnei habal, if let's say she was engaged, and she was engaged for 11 months and a whole bunch of days, chaser yom echad b'ifnei hayavam. There was just 1 day by the yavam, or kulam b'ifnei yavam. Chaser yom echad b'ifnei habal. Let's say she got married, and then the next day her husband died, and then all of a sudden the rest of the almost a full year she was by the yavam. Eno chelos b'truma, doesn't make any difference. She still does not get truma. It has to be that there is been a year by the baal. And it says zu mishnah rishayna. That is the first Mishnah. That is the starting point. Regarding, we'll see. We'll get to that language in a second. So the Gemara asks, Hashda b'fnei habal amrit loy b'fnei yavam b'boy zubi and tzarich ler mezukatani. The truth is, you don't really need to mention all these cases because we already established that by a yavam she's not lechelos b'trum anyway. So then why do we have to mention this case? Oh, even if a lot of them are by the yavam. What do you mean? It should be even if a lot of them are by the baal. Okay. Zu Mishnah Rishayna. So what is the Mishnah Rishayna? The Mishnah Rishayna says that she will, once this time reaches, Rashi says on the last Rashi in Nun Zan Manav, the Mishayagiz Mano Chelos B'Truma, that the Mishnah Rishona says she eats Truma. And then it says, in the rest of the Mishnah, that afterwards, let's continue, and it says, Mishnah Rishona, based in Shilacharehem, Amru, but then later on, even though originally they said yes, after 12 months, even though only Erison took place, she's allowed to eat Truma, this Bas Israel. They changed and they said no. You have to wait until Chuppah. It doesn't make any difference if the 12 months go by. She still cannot eat Truma. Okay. So let's understand this. There's obviously a change of thought. So so my time is simpoint. So the issue is because you may find that she has a mum, and then if you wouldn't have wanted to marry her to mechach tos. So bishlam ul kamaisa shem yimzugula kais b'vesaviyavias ubasraisa mishum simpoint. So there's actually two reasons you could establish. Maybe the main reason we said we were concerned is because shem yimzugula kais b'vesaviyah, that we don't want her to get Truma because she may end up giving it to her brothers. So it says Rashi, Mishnah Rishona shows Seres Mishas Erison. The reason why we said she can't have Truma right away, Shatar Hitarta, even though the Torah says it's allowed, the him Gozru Ashigizman until 12 months go by, well, Gozru is Simpoin, El Shematashke, Hilkach. It says Rashi, Mishischai Luzaina, once you are obligated to give her food, it's not just that you give her food and you ship it to her parents' house where she is. No, you also have to be miyachid laduchta. You also have to give her a place. So therefore, now she is gone, and therefore there's no problem of her giving it to her brothers. So, however, the end, the Basraisa says Rashi Mishnah Shechazru, that says no. We're still concerned about that, even though she's not by her parents. Gazru an shechazul chuppah because chashul is simpoint. So we're concerned of that he may find a mum afterwards. That's only going to be determined after he actually has completed chuppah and consummates the marriage, as we continue to do Chesed Beis. So you can understand, based on those two reasons, they first thought it was because of her sharing the truma. And once the year goes by, she's not going to be around them to share it. And the Sefer says, no, we should still be concerned of simpoin. El Rab Shmuel Bar Yehuda Kamaisa Mishum Simpoin Masrais Mishum Simpoin Mai Benayu. Doesn't make any sense. If the original issue was because of simpoin, so then why would they say it was allowed before, and then all of a sudden they change? If it's the same reason. So Yikabenayu Bedikas Chutz. Marsav Bedikas Chutz Shema Bedika, Marsav Bedikas Chutz Lo Shema Bedika. So Rashi says, what is a Bedikas Chutz? Means Shabbatka Biyad Kuravoisav. It doesn't necessarily mean that you checked her outside with her clothes on. It means that her relatives examined her. The question is that a sufficient bedika? So originally we said, yeah, that's a good enough bedika, and therefore you can be soymech on your relatives to assume there's not going to be an issue of simpoin. And then after we say, you know what? No, we are still concerned with this because bedikas chutz is not a proper bedika, and for that reason we're going to say that she still cannot eat truma until she enters chuppah. Let's see the next Mishnah. Hamakdish masi yedei ishtay harizu oisav ochelas. Now, even though a person is makdish the work of her hands, and you would think that the husband gets her paycheck, her masi yodeha, so you think he would be able to do it. Nonetheless, we say harizu oisav ochelas. The din is, as Rashi says, ein masi yodeha kadosh al piv. Based on his words, that doesn't have any validity, and therefore she can still continue to eat from this food, and it's not considered to be hektish. Why? We'll see. The Gemara is going to give a couple reasons. And then the Mishnah says, Hamoiser, what about the extra? Says Rashi, Hikdish es moiser masiyah de ishtai. Mashi hi oisel yoiser al haroi shepasku chachamim. Or hikdish masiyah de atzman. So the question is, what if he wasn't makdish the normal amount, which was the anticipated amount, but the amount that she works even harder, her time and a half money? So what's the din with that? So the question is whether that works as well. And of course, we'll have to understand, like Rab Meir says it actually works. Why would it work if we just said that l'chara doesn't work when it comes to the regular monies of a Masi Yadeha. Why would Moiser be any different? Okay. Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rab, Yechoil Isha Loim L'Bala. A woman could go up to her husband and make the following stipulation: Eini nezainis ve'eini oisa. I know you're supposed to give me mazonos, and I'm supposed to give you my paycheck, but let's make a deal. You don't give me any mazonos. I'm not going to take anything from you, and you will not take my Masi Yadeha. So in that situation, it says that one is allowed to make that statement. And I'll provide my own food, but it's not a problem. I make a lot of money. So ksaver ki takinu rabbana mazaini ikra Masi Yadeha mishum eva. The reason why the Chachamim instituted mazonos, that was the main thing, in order for her good, to make sure that she will always have food, even let's say she doesn't have a great job and her Masi Yadeha isn't so great that she needs more mazonos than what money she brings in. She'll be consuming more than what she actually makes. Fine, we'll say that that's okay, and you still have to provide for her mazonos. Masi Yadeha mishum eva. And the reason why we at least make her give you some of this money, even though it doesn't cover mazonos, is because of Ava. Because at least you're not going to get upset that she's not contributing to this relationship. At least, even though she doesn't have a great job and she's not bringing a lot of money, but why should she not contribute? I have to give her all this money from mazonos and she's giving me nothing back. And therefore, if she says, I don't need the mazonos, so she can do so. So the question is, it says that there were masakin mazonos because of the Masi Yadeha, which sounds like she shouldn't therefore be able to do it, which sounds like the Masi Yadeha is the ikr. No, ema tiknu Masi Yadeha tachas mazainis. Just say it the other way around, and therefore that shows you again the whole purpose is in her benefit, and therefore because of that it's not his benefit, the main reason is her benefit, and if she doesn't want that benefit, then it's fine, she can make that stipulation. So lema silence. So perhaps we can support this based on our Mishnah. We say that if a person is makdish her Masi Yadeha, that it doesn't work. So my love bin zainis. Says Rashi, sheish bin zainis, sheish nechasim, she has possessions. There's possessions. Nonetheless, he doesn't have the ability to be makdish it. Lo, b'she'ena nizainis. It's not talking about a case where she gets mizonos. It's talking about a case b'she'ena nizainis, where he's not feeding her. So, b'she'ena nizainis, if he's not feeding her, which basically therefore means that she's not giving him Masi Yadeha, so Milo Memro, it's a double pashut. Because if he's not giving her anything, so that any mazonos, so then he shouldn't be entitled to Masi Yadeha, so obviously he cannot be makdish because it's not coming to him anyway. Even according to the opinion that says that a master can say to his servant, that I want you to work for me, and that's the good for me, but I'm not giving you anything. Unbelievably, that actually could work. It may not be smart because your Evid's not going to be necessarily going to work so well without food. He's going to have to figure out how to get food. But it's Hani Mil Evid Kanani. You can only do that when it comes to an Evid Kanani, where you have an element of ownership. Also, the Luk Sibe Imcha, that you have to do something with him, you have to work with him and be good to him. So of course, if you aren't feeding her, you won't get her Masi Yadeha. So you can maybe say that by an Evid Kanani, but not by your own wife. So it doesn't make any sense. It must be our Mishnah's talking about in a situation where you do get the mazonos, and therefore you do give her mazonos, and therefore you're entitled to the Masi Yadeha. Because otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you? Of course, it's a double pashut. If she makes a stipulation, you're not giving her mazonos, so then of course you shouldn't be able to be makdish her possessions. So seifa itzrichle, you're right. That is a double pashut. Of course he shouldn't be able to do it. The chiddush is the seifa. Moiser, when it comes to monies which go above and beyond that which is the man is entitled to. Rameir oimer hektish, Rabbi Yochanan Sando oimer chulin. Upli the Rish Lakish, Demer Rish Lakish, Shlote Matam the Rameir Mishum Diksaver Adam Makdash Rabbi Shlo Ba'olam. The reason for Rameir is not because a person can be makdish something which is not in this world. That's the reason why he says by moiser, the din is that it's hektish, that it works. How could it be makdish moiser? It didn't happen. It's not here. She's working tomorrow, not today. So how could you be makdish something that didn't happen? So Rameir holds your makdish davar shelo ba'olam. No, that's not the reason. El tam to Rameir, the reason why Rameir says that you could be makdish this is mitach shiachol kaifel masyadeha, since you could force her masyadeha to take her masyadeha nasika oimula yikadshu yodaich lo him. It's ki'ilu, like you're saying, I'm makdish your hands to do them. And therefore, basically what he's saying, says Rashi, Lamisha Baram of Yadayim Isnahu Ba'olam. So it's not a davar shelo ba'olam, because your hands that are doing the work, that is what I'm being makdish. Al Maksaber Yechol Chayfa. So we see over here that he could force her. According to this, you're not able to make, according to Rameir, you're not able to say this stipulation. She's not allowed to say, don't give me miznonos, I'm not going to be masiyah deha. No, you're not allowed to do that. Since he holds that a person does not say anything for no reason, and he learned that out, as Rashi brings down Masechtas Erechin. It's that, how do you know the person doesn't say something for nothing? Ditnan hamarich pachas meben chodesh. If a person makes Erechin for someone who, the value of someone who is less than a month old, Rameir Omer Noisin Dumav, you still have to pay. The Adam Yodan the ain't erech lepachas meben chodesh. We know there's no din Erechin for a child who's less than a month old. Everyone knows that. The Gomer, therefore, so why did he say it? For nothing? No. He did it v'omer l'shem domim. He wanted it not l'shem erechin, l'shem damim. It's the value of this child. So Hachanami says Rashi, Adam yodei shein Adam makdish davar shelo ba'olam. He knows that you cannot be makdish someone which is not in this world. But Gomer v'omer l'shem yodayim atzmai, and therefore he had in mind her hands, which is in this world. So therefore it's nasik omer lo yikadshu yodayich lo yisehem. Because again, he holds it's a person's not going to be moitzi davar levatala. The saber Rameir in other makdish davar shelo ba'olam. 1 second. Why are we saying that the reason why Rameir holds that it works, you can be makdish it, is not because of in other makdish davar shelo ba'olam. A person could be makdish davar shelo ba'olam, and he really holds you can't be makdish davar shelo ba'olam. The only reason is because since he said this, it must be that he had in mind the yadayim, and that is in the hands, in the world. But I'll show you that he actually does hold of this svara, that you could be makdish davar shelo ba'olam. How do we see that? We've seen this in Yivamos, it's found in Kedushin. Hari Amakadeshusli, I'm going to be marrying you. Either after you convert, after I convert, after you become free or I become free, after your husband dies, or your sister dies, which you're allowed to marry a sister if her husband, if the original sister is dead that you were married to, after the Yavam gives you chalitza, so we see clearly that he holds you could be makdish davar shelo ba'olam. Meran says you're right. Mehahi in, however, meha lekel mashmina. From indeed, Rameir holds from the Mishnah in Kedushin that you can be makna davar shelo ba'olam, but this principle cannot be derived from our Mishnah, and therefore you're right. Maybe when it comes to, you could say that that's the svara, but that's not what we are implying in this situation. Rameir says that you can be makdish when it comes to the extras is because it's talking about a situation where he is not going to say davar for nothing, and therefore for that reason, the din is the din is that you can be makdish it. Okay, question. We're going to stop there. TA 12. So he says as follows: Hamakdish masiyah de ishto v'chu. V'ma'aser Rameir hektish madua. L'divrei shlakish ein mekan raya de adam makdish davar shelo ba'olam b'hamasiyah dayim lisnu ba'olam. So l'chara they're not in her hands. So he said kivandis Rameir ein amaitzi devar v'latala, because we know that Rameir also holds. This is the answer. In Adam Maitzi Devar Vatala, so it's Nasika Imla Yikadshu Yadayach Leisehem. And therefore, that's the reason. It's not that it's a Davar Shelo Ba'olam. It's possible that because in Adamaitza Devil Vatala, so therefore it must be coming to tell us that he was focusing on the hands. And the hands are Isnu Ba'olam, and therefore for that reason, that's why. That's why it actually has validity, it actually means something. That was TA 12. TB 13. Amatish Masi the Ishto Hariza Oisvel Chelas. The Gemara Moikula ben Zainis, Madua im Kain in Masyadeha Shalo, Lakdishan, why did not his Larav Rebbe Lezer? It's fine. So he says Larav Mishum Shechol Loimer in the Zenis Oisa. So let's see. According to Rav, the reason why is because she can say Yichol Yamel Labala in the Zenis Oisa, and that's what he holds. So therefore, because of that, he the husband has no rights on this. That's one answer, and then Rebbe Lezer tiknu mea kesef tachas masyadeha umarish ein malala bal karchach lafichach ein al yedei masyadeha shalo. So he holds. And I think we may not have done this yet, but we're going to see that the reason is that they were masakin the Ma'kesev because of Masyadeha, and She'ein Malula Lafikach Ein Masyadeha Shalo. So again, that's a reason that we'll see, I believe, next time. Ad Kan.